is a web series where thought leaders will share their thoughts thoughts and views on corporate innovation and Indian startup ecosystem. I'm Utpal Doshi, partner corporate venture capital at 100x.vc, and your host for the web series. Friends, we all agree that India is on the cusp of becoming the largest startup ecosystem in the world. We at 100x are on a mission to create a joint partnership between corporates and startups. Towards that, we are actually seeing, a lot of interest coming from corporates, and they are interested in looking at, this partnership with an intention of connecting corporates with the right set of startups. 100x has also set up corporate venture capital arm and recently announced partnership with Pidlite Industries. Friends, with a brief background, let me just introduce today's guest, Ninad Karpe. A chartered accountant by profession, Ninad carries with him extensive experience of leading corporates, both the Indian as well as MNCs. He also held board with positions at various corporates. He is the past chairman of CII Western Region and currently heads the startup committee at CII Western Region. He regularly participates in various sessions relating to corporate innovation. With an objective to support early stage startups, Nina joined 100x VC as partner in 2019. Friends, it is my pleasure to have Ninad to share his views on the future of Indian startup ecosystem and creating corporate innovation through CVC. Welcome, Ninad, on the show.
Thank you, Utpal. Thank you for those kind words, and I'm delighted to be here this morning.
Right. So, Ninad, I think so. Let me start by asking a very generic question. I think so. Digital transformation and corporate innovations. I think so. These are the buzzwords that we hear right now. So, wanted to have your views that how these two words are, playing out at corporate, more so in general.
Sure, Utpal. I think my first message to everyone, particularly corporates, is standing still is the fastest way of going backwards. So it's no longer an option. So you spoke about digital transformation and innovation. They're separate and they're together. Together, they can be very potent. There's really no choice. If you don't do anything, you're dead. So what do you have to do? You have to embrace it wholeheartedly, not reluctantly. If you embrace it because you have no choice, it's not going to work out. Your journey will be completed only if you embrace it wholeheartedly. And if you do not, be prepared to write your obituary. It's as simple as that.
Right. I think so. Your message is very clear that, I think so. You need to accept both in terms of transformation and innovation, and they cannot be separated. I think so. They have to work, together. So, Nirad, what's your view on startups playing a catalyst role in corporate innovation? I think so. This is going to be very critical as we look at, creating a partnership.
I would like to use the word pivotal role. You use catalyst, but I would like to go a step higher and say startups will play a pivotal role in corporates in future. And why do I say that? Because I'll elaborate more, but how can they play is what your question is. So I'll respond to that first. There are various models. Today a lot of innovation is in-source, in-house, large R&D departments, large departments which do the innovation, and that has been a model for a long time. But I would dare to say that this is a 1960s model. Welcome to 2022. It's a different world, a brave new world. You have to embrace the new model. What is the new model? At the extreme end, outsource all your corporate innovation. You're a little worried about that? No problem. Do a hybrid model, do a plug and play model, collaborate with startups. CVC is probably the best model available today for you. And I would dare to say again for next 5-10 years to have corporate innovation, to ensure that you as a company survive and not only survive, but really, really progress. So to my mind, startups will play not just a catalyst role, but a pivotal role. And it can happen where companies are progressive to embrace the startup culture.
Well, I think so. That's an interesting analysis on how startups can play a bigger role when it comes to corporate innovation. So, Nina, an interesting question. I was just thinking, and what is the motivation behind starting CVC at 100x? So, if you can, give a little bit background around it.
We would like to believe at 100x that we would like to lead in terms of thought leadership, in terms of brave new ideas in the startup world. The basic model of 100x also we believe is done a lot of pioneering things. That is in our DNA. That's how we think. Every Monday morning, we think of what next, what new, what to do. That's why Namaste Tomorrow, because we believe we have to say Namaste tomorrow right now, not tomorrow. And given that context, we wanted to again bring a new model to the Indian market, which is very nascent in India. CVC, corporate venture capital, is very nascent. Very few companies have tried it, implemented it, or even embraced it with full force. So we thought, since we understand the startup ecosystem a lot, we get tons of pitch decks from startups, roughly 30, 35,000. We are seeing the startup trends, and we are seeing the agonizing pain which corporate boards have in terms of being on the cutting edge of innovation. Is there a way to bridge the two? The short answer is yes, and 100x has shown the way. We have, we feel, pioneered or pushed this concept. Let me not use the push this concept in the Indian market, because we think there's a huge bridge to be built. There's a gap to be filled, and there's a need on both sides. That's why we thought of CVC model, and it is still very early, but we don't mind. We are always in the leadership role, so we will ensure that this matures in the Indian corporate scene.
No, absolutely. I think so. Corporate venture capital is need of an hour. And Nina, my next question is relating to the same. When it comes to partnering with startups, so we've seen, at least at this juncture, we've seen that there is a resistance from corporate. So, in your view, are the Indian corporations ready to partner with startups, or there is still some things to be done around it?
So I would like to believe that emotionally they are ready. They know there's no choice. If you have a discussion near the coffee dispenser with the CEO, he'll say yes, or she'll say yes. I need to do it. Some of them are struggling to figure out how. The question is not why, the question is why not, and the why not they agree it has to happen. Then the next question becomes how. They realize that if they want agility, fresh thinking, and speed, it can happen only with startups. If they want people to come in with no baggage, with absolutely wanting to hold the devil by its ears and do what is required to be done, startups are the place to go. So, having said that, I would like to believe that there are two, three types of corporates. One is which realizes that you have to do it, but still not figured out how to do it. The second, there are only two broad categories. That's the first. The second category is they said yes, we need to do it, and how they feel, okay, let's still have a in-source model. Let's have an in-house model. Build a team which will look for startups. And the third, which is part B of second, is where they feel that no, I think if we have to have the speed and agility, it can only be outsourced or partnered from outside. So these are the broad areas. I don't think anyone can even think, a progressive CEO can even think of saying that no, we will not partner with startups.
Absolutely. I think, Nina, the corporates will have to start thinking in terms of, how they can partner with startups. But obviously, there will be a question around, are there any alternatives of partnering with startups? So, my next question to you is relating to the same, that, in your view, which are the alternatives that are available to corporates when they are thinking about, partnering with startups?
There is always choices in life, options in life, and so it is for CEOs and boards of companies wanting to think of how to do it. If they have gone over the initial hurdle of why or why not, the next is how. And there are various options. A kind of a safe option for them is to say, no, 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 let's do everything in house. Let's get a person who will handle startups. Let this person reach out to startups. Let's see what they can do. We don't want to invest. That's not our business. We'll just get these startups to work with us and give them our access to our network ecosystem. That's one model where there is no money on the table. It's all insourced and safe. You're just having a small and number rounding of error in a P&L for the expense you incurred in having a small team. I would like to think that's a very, very conservative model. It will not get you anywhere. It will just push you by 10 meters in a marathon race. You're a marathoner, Utpal. You know how important it is to push hard. 10 meters gets you nowhere in the marathon race, right?
Absolutely.
So that is one extreme. The other extreme is where you say, no, nothing doing, this is not a core competency, which is a fact. Identifying startups innovation is not a core competency because any corporate, because they are not engineered that way. They're all engineered in their domain, how to excel in their domain. And then you say, okay, we'll outsource everything. Identification of startups, figuring out how we set aside large sums of money. We invest not only in ideas which are aligned to a business, but maybe slightly distant, but you never know, it might converge after 5 years. So if I am in a pharma, I say, no, let me invest in deep tech. Now, the board will why deep tech? You don't know what are the conversions which is going to happen in 5 years. So I think that's the progressive kind of thing I would like to see more and more. Well, most of them are in some grade in between the spectrum. There are some who are on the extreme left, no money, just advice, just mentorship, just access, and what I said on that. So somewhere in between, a lot of people are there where they say, okay, we'll set aside a small sum. We will first let's for some time identify corporates which are startups, sorry, which are aligned to my business. It's a journey. The longer you take, the worse off you are in terms of getting innovation in your company.
Thanks, Niyad. I think so. This is more insightful, and I think so. The related question, and I'm thinking that in my mind that if a corporate is really thinking about doing a corporate innovation through CVC, which are the focus areas where corporate needs to think about it, when they actually going ahead and partner with startups.
Well, a no-brainer is areas aligned to or to your core business. So again, if you're in pharma, are there any new pharma products? Are there anything connected to process of pharma? So that's it's a no-brainer. I think this each and every corporate must do, if not think of doing it. But the other part is saying no, not just aligned, but let's look at something which is fundamental to running a business. It could be some fundamental processes, fundamental technology. Let's say Web3 technologies. How is I may not be in the business of technology, but how will Web3 kind of align with my business in engineering, in pharma? And look at that. And ob- in the long term, when I mean long term, it's 5 years. Long term is not 20 years. Those days are gone. 3 to 5 years. Lot of overlaps will happen. Lot of convergence will happen. And are you ready for this convergence? Are you ready for these overlaps? Are you ready to explore technologies which today seem distant, far away, but
Correct.
within a matter of 2 seconds, it can just come close to your business and disrupt your business. So these are the two broad ways in which corporates can identify something close aligned. It's a no-brainer, or set aside money not just to close, but something close plus something fundamentally changing technology, changing mankind, changing lifestyles, which can eventually have an impact on your business.
Right. So, Nina, I'm like coming to the next question, and I think so. This is something which is actually a constant debate.
Sure.
India is a vast demographic area, and with more than 7,000 listed entities, uh, you know, I think so. My next question is, is it going to be a domain for the listed corporates, or do you believe that no, apart from listed companies, it could be anyone, any private business also can play a bigger role in corporate innovation?
In fact, I think private businesses are much larger than listed companies in terms of numbers and the wealth and the amount of what they contribute to the GDP. They are better positioned to embrace CVC, and I say it for a reason. Uh, by definition, a listed company has its own process of decision making. If you have to set aside money, obviously, it has to go to the highest level. In private businesses, if you are a large, privately family owned, the decisions can be much faster. So I think non-listed can move faster, have definitely an advantage in terms of speed of decision making, of setting aside money, investing in corporates, in startups, and aligning with startups. They are not there as yet. We are seeing more listed companies doing it, and I think this is a mistake on the part of non-listed companies not to look at startups. They need to get out of the comfort zone and figure out how to align themselves to startups. Remember my first statement: standing still is the fastest way of going
Absolutely.
backward.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, Dinath, when we are looking at, and I think so, this is something which a target set by government to hit 5 trillion economy by 2025, and we still have 3 more years to go. So, in your view, what do you believe that will be a contribution of startups, in reaching this 5 trillion economic target?
So India cannot become a 5 trillion economy without important role played by startups. 2025 is just around the corner, so the contribution by startups may not be that huge now, but the trajectory will be so huge that when you say India is going to become $10 trillion economy, hopefully in 5 years from there, the contribution will be so huge. India will not be able to reach 10 trillion without a large contribution by startups. So my short answer to your question is, now it will play an important role, a pivotal role, a role which will be strategic to 5 trillion. But for the next 5 trillion is just not possible, impossible without startups playing a major role.
Right. So, Neeraj, I think so. This is very much relevant, and I think so. It actually sends out a message to startups and corporates, how they can partner together to actually help the Indian economy reaching the target that has been set. I'm not able to tempt myself. I think so, there is a time constraint, but I'm not able to, hold myself from asking this question. Where do you see 100x will play a role, in creating this breach, when it comes to corporates and startups working together? So, how 100x is going to play a role?
So today we are playing a role of being a catalyst, because early this whole mindset of investing in startups and ensuring that they become part of your ecosystem. I would dare to say that in the next 6 to 12 months, we'll play a pivotal role in the Indian ecosystem. And why do I say that? We are uniquely positioned. We have been lucky to have been the first to do a lot of things in the VC ecosystem. I don't want to repeat here. But because of that, we have got such a broad base of startups who come to us. It is the first port of call 100x for early stage startups and other startups to get funded. We fund moonshot ideas. Aren't corporates excited by moonshot ideas? The answer is yes. Are they prepared to embrace them wholeheartedly? I would say reluctantly now. It will happen wholeheartedly. So that journey from reluctant to wholehearted is the journey from 100x becoming a catalyst to 100x becoming a pivotal role in ensuring that the Indian ecosystem embraces startups. We are connected with the entire ecosystem. It is very tough. A corporate may have a lot of resources, but really speaking, the intangibles which you have is very tough to reach out to so many startups. Will do startups willingly send the pitch decks to us? The answer is yes. Do they call us up and say, you know what, Ninad, I want to get funded. Can I send you a pitch deck? The answer is yes. Will they do the same thing with a very large company? I would dare to say they are a little reluctant. So there is a challenge there. So you may throw whatever money, but the startups may not willingly start sending their ideas, their pitch decks to large corporates. So that's where we play a role. It's a win-win for us. Startups want corporates want startups. We have we have the connections with all the startups. We are there across so many startups, so we can play a catalyst role, and we are willing to do that. We are here for the startup system. We are here to ensure that startup play a key role, and we are willing to help corporates succeed, win together, create together with startups.
Right. Thanks, Inad. I think the message is loud and clear. Both the startups and corporates need to work together to create a better tomorrow. I think so. The time is up, Ninad. Thank you very much for sharing your thoughts on how corporates and startups can create a long-term partnership. We at 100x are at the forefront for creating and promoting entrepreneurship through this route and create a better tomorrow. My special thanks to all the viewers for attending this session. Stay tuned for similar interaction with innovation leaders every Saturday at Namaste Tomorrow. Have a pleasant weekend. Thank you.
Thank you. Namaste tomorrow.
Namaste.